Thank you. I have a couple of questions and then we'll open it up to the audience. So first of all, as a result of this new vehicle autonomous driving, I wonder if there will be reduction in insurance rates. You know, less accidents, less, you know.
I don't know. That's a good question.
But anyway, and also with the water, hopefully we'll have additional water in Folsom Lake this year, right, with the measurements that they're doing. So the question that I have for the groups is that back in the day, you had to always submit a request to the individuals in the IT department to get reports. But now with self-service analytic tools that are being made available, what are some of the best practices of allowing analysts to access data, and do you see any issues with security and storage capacity as a result of pushing out the data to analysts so you have more users of the data who can perform their work? And I just asked that question of one of the panel members, if you could perhaps respond to that.
Yeah, I can start. Kind of thinking of it in a couple of layers. So one of the things on the open data work, that's pushing things out to the public and kind of echoing some of what David said earlier, the conversation around is it sustainable and how is it used? And there's two things I think in particular about the way we've been approaching open data, both as a department and an agency. One is that a key part of it is including metadata. So the information about the data dictionary, what are the qualifications about the data, because one of the things that folks are afraid of is when you share it or when you let people start to use it, will they interpret it correctly? Will they come to appropriate conclusions? What if there's something wrong in our data? What if they find it and we didn't find it? And I think we have that sense whether it's internal and it's another program in your department using the data or whether it's going out to the public. And so a key part of our open data effort has been around that documentation, the metadata, the data about the data, that helps give that explanation. And then also recognizing that as people use it, they will find things. They'll find out, hey, did you think about this? Or did you know this is wrong? And the catch-22 of data is it's only as good as it is being used. So if you use it, you will find issues. If you never use it, you'll never find any issues, right? So there's a little bit of that trust and faith that as we do that, we will uncover, we will learn, and just accepting that that's going to happen. But the other thing I wanted to mention that I think has been particularly exciting about some of the open data work is where we have found that doing so is allowing us to eliminate internal processes, and that gets at that sustainability piece. And I think that's something what David was talking about as well in terms of having it be usable internally as well as externally. So one of the files we posted is our fee-for-service provider file. And there's 180,000 NPIs, 150,000 providers in that file. But because it's API enabled and now we've added the effective date, there are data files that we have been sending to our managed care plans that we can probably stop sending. They can just use that. We've also had requests to post our suspended and ineligible providers to the open data portal, and we're working on that, because other folks need to consume that into their systems, so they want to be able to load it. And so right now we post it in an Excel file, so they have to download it, bring it over, upload it into their system. Once we put it on the open data portal, they'll just consume it through an API. So it takes several steps out of the process, which helps decrease chance for error. And so we're seeing how that data is actually getting reused into other systems, and that's part of what makes it sustainable, I think. And then it also looks at how we're doing our work internally and how do we improve efficiency. So that aspect of making use of data, it can be scary to start to say, I'm gonna use this, I'm going to see what's there. But at the same time, I think we get a lot of benefit from that, and we're starting to see that pay off.
Great.
I'd like to add just a little bit on to what you're saying about having data be available as an API. the old way of thinking was that we had data inextricably linked with a particular application, and it was kind of captive there. And once that system was built, you weren't getting it out any other way. And part of managing data as an asset is looking at the data itself as part of the system design and figuring out the implications for alternate uses, either for other organizations or yourself in the future when you don't necessarily anticipate what you're going to want to have happen in the future. Like, for instance, 6 months after you started using the system and realized, oh, you really wanted something different, right? How many of us have experienced that? And so being able to access the data, even if it's in a read-only form from an API, is really enabling to people that want to do analysis on that data and use it in ways that hadn't been originally anticipated.
Great. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We have a microphone coming around.
We're in the home stretch, guys. But you've got access to 5 visionaries, counting Karen. She downplays her role, but she implemented a really cool system that she should tell everybody about. But failing that, you've got access to people that are struggling or have solved a lot of the problems that you guys are probably struggling with. So feel free to query them. This is your opportunity. Raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic.
Russ over here.
Oh. And I'll get there eventually. Yeah, but we need it for the video.
So my questions around autonomous vehicles. As you mentioned, there are 30 companies who are testing autonomous vehicles today in California. So is CHP or Caltrans getting this data from these companies as using them as IoT devices for crowdsourcing the data so you can improve the infrastructure, not relying on your own IoT devices, but rather using these vehicles as data collection tools where you can see if there's debris or potholes on the freeway or congestion issues. So are these companies sharing data with Caltrans or CHP?
It's a great question. I'll give you a couple examples, and I would say that we have just begun doing this, and that's why the presentation was coming from a very humble standpoint. We're trying to figure out how to exploit this to our greatest possible advantage in these partnerships. But I mentioned our partnership that we have with Waze. So Waze, if you have never used the app, it helps you navigate, but it also has the ability for crowdsourcing feedback. And I think the initial applications of this were for people to talk about highway patrol officers and their presence and things, or an accident. We've been working to try to get that expanded so that we can get crowdsourcing information about where there's freeway problems and potholes and things like that. So that's one example where we're actually taking from the information from those organizations. Another one that comes to mind is in discussions with Tesla, who manufactures a Model S vehicle, which you probably all have seen or are aware of. The Model S vehicle comes equipped with autonomous capabilities. It has to be activated by the driver, but it's always running. And one of the things that we're talking to Tesla about is identifying where it is that our striping on the freeway system is not providing adequate contrast for their systems as an indication to us that this might be where we need to go out and restripe the freeway. So there's a couple of examples of where this is starting to happen.
Any other questions? We're about up for time. One more?
I have two questions. My first question is, when we have such massive amount of data, how are we going to get them into Excel, which is just a file? And my second question is about transportation. I work for DMV, and I've been always thinking of the same point that you put on the slide about the heterogeneous combination of autonomous and non-autonomous vehicles on the road. How do we address that?
Well, one of the challenges with data volume is what tool to use and how to approach that, and that's certainly one of the things we deal with frequently. So at Department of Healthcare Services, we're serving about 14 million Medi-Cal members, so about a third of the state, and so we have a lot of data, and people frequently come and they ask for data files or what have you, and I frequently find myself in conversations about, well, what are you trying to do? How can we streamline your request? Because you really don't want it all, I promise, right? Because it's so much, what do you do with it? You get in that volume overload. So I think part of it is, and one of the things we try to do with our data playbook for the agency is as you start to think about your data analysis, your data projects, what is it you're trying to do, at least conceptually have an idea, because that will help you figure out what tool to use and how to make it usable and get it into a form that you can. Because many of these data sets are larger, if you take it at base value, larger than you can deal with in a particular system or like an Excel file. There's definitely limitations, right? So we're continually looking at that, and also how do we take the kind of underlying data and make it into usable information, so that as you're consuming it in the public or in other arenas or from a programmatic perspective, you're getting what you need and not being overwhelmed by sort of everything underneath. So I guess that's kind of an answer there. Maybe the DMV answer, so to speak.
I think your second question dealt with the combination of autonomous and non-autonomous vehicles and what's the thinking there. It's a subject of a lot of discussion, because in order for autonomous and connected vehicles to become, to realize the vision that I think I was laying out, you have to have substantial numbers. You can't just throw one in the middle of 1,000 vehicles and realize those kinds of gains. So there's a question of timing. When do you hit that critical mass in terms of when the technology is available on enough vehicles that you can make a go of it? And then I guess the leading thinking now would be that there would be potentially lanes that were dedicated solely to autonomous vehicles. And so you would get in those lanes and you could connect up into what's called a platoon of connected vehicles. And you would run down the freeway and in effect unencumbered by the non-autonomous vehicles. Now, I don't know if that's not in place anywhere in the world that I'm aware of, but that's the thinking.
Okay, one more question.
So my name is Marquise, and I work for OBM, and prior to that I was an entrepreneur. And so specific to open data, I was wondering, do you guys have any plans to partner with vendors or entrepreneurs to sort of hack